you so much for coming on the show today. It's great to finally meet you in person because this is how we meet each other in person nowadays, through Zoom, right?
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, that's interesting. So my name is, Sharekh Shaikh. This is the fourth country that I'm living in. Lived in India, Dubai, Singapore before this.
Nice.
I'm a startup founder. I run CleverX, which is a marketplace for market research. So companies, like Microsoft, TikTok, Twitter, their research gets powered through our platform, where they connect with senior business professionals to get insights. What I'm passionate about, Chris, is riding motorbikes, reading, and going for hikes and things like that. Outdoorsy stuff mostly. Yeah.
So you should have led with that. Actually, I was thinking about a friend of mine who's a Finn. He goes, "You Americans, when somebody asks you what you're passionate about, the first thing you talk about is your job, right?" It's like when somebody asks me, I talk about racquetball or walking my dog or whatever.
Yeah. You're
So
right,
you've definitely picked up the American culture.
I have, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. So what led you to this startup? I mean, what made you decide to do this?
Yeah, before starting CleverX, I used to work for Gartner Research, which is a public listed, one of the largest technology research companies in the world.
Yeah.
And I realized working at Gartner that online surveys and qualitative and quantitative research in the market research space had so many holes in it, like the way it operated. I wanted to solve the problem around fraud in that space, because almost 40% of online surveys in B2B are fraudulent.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that high. That's crazy.
It's really high. SMR, which is the largest research organization, like a nonprofit organization, has a big article written about it. And the reason is a lot of companies do not even know who their survey participants are. So like there's a black market out there where there are people whose sole job is to take up surveys. And there's a conflict of interest between multiple parties in that equation, where nobody wants to share that information, who the participant is. And we as a mission of our company is to make sure that we bring that transparency to the whole process of conducting online surveys. $55 billion market in the US. I think we're doing a good job. We're growing really fast. A lot of companies use us because of that trust and transparency angle. And I think that was the primary reason for me to build it. And generally my background is around technology and market research. So it all came together for this startup. Yeah.
Interesting. So you're saying that because you saw this hole in the market where there was so much fraud, it's like, so how does CleverX like do that? Does it cross-reference things, or what's the, you don't have to tell the secret sauce, but just give us an overview of how it,
I'm happy
what makes it different.
to share it. The more companies that will exist like us, it will improve the industry. So I believe in that. But I think the way to do that is to be like a LinkedIn alternative. Is like you create a marketplace, which is also a community platform where you have transparency to directly engage with each other and invite people for those online surveys. So if I already know Chris is the right person for participating in my survey, I can actually engage with you through our platform, chat with you, and ask you to participate in my survey. That gives you so much confidence as a researcher that whatever Chris is going to give me as an output on that online survey, I can rely on that. Because in the traditional way of doing things, I don't even know who my respondents are. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I use CrowdTap every now and then. So, I mean, you're probably familiar with that. And I'm like, I can't believe that each and every time they ask me the exact same question over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, don't you know who I am already? You've got enough information on me to be able to answer that question. Do I have a pet? No. I mean, but then like 5 questions later, tell me about your dog. It's like, no, I already told you I don't have a pet. It's like,
it's
so is the reason why that happens is because I'm assuming these are all siloed, and these, company A has to get the full set of information, and then company B has to get their full set of information. So even if the question is asked again, it's because you want to silo this research from each other. Is that one of the problems that you solve?
It is not just, so the questionnaires that companies or researchers create, we don't have control over that, right? But what we do have control over is we can pass on all the information about a particular user on a platform, about their work experience, the industries that they work for, the number of years of experience they had, where do they live, which city, which country, all that information. When we give it to a user, a lot of questions get answered just based on that information.
Right. So you don't need to ask them that during the research phase.
Through the research stage, so that information gets passed on to the research company, and on top of it, then you can go more deeper, because the longer the online surveys are, the response rate drops down drastically, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you can get that basic information from our platform and then give them more meaty questions, right, about your particular job or your influence in buying a certain technology, or how did you market in a certain geography, which are more relevant to your to a market researcher's customers, I think that's where we are adding value. So I think the top 5 of the top 10 research firms in the world are actually using CleverX, and we're just 2.5 years old. So which is very exciting to see that change that we're bringing in.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So can you tell me a little bit about your original startup story? So you were working at Gartner, you decided there was a big hole to fill. Did you just leave and start coding yourself? Did you raise money? I mean, tell me about how, a bit about your story.
It was a very interesting journey with a lot of failures. So I think when I started, I'm a solo founder, so I don't have like a shoulder to cry on, like a co-founder.
Oh, no.
Right? So I had to deal with
You're a solopreneur. There's so few of us.
Yeah, there's so few of us, exactly. So you can understand the pain, right? So when I started off, I learned that there is a market, and the first thing I did was, just go and talk to customers. But I think the mistake that I made in that process was I went very deep into certain verticals to ask questions to particular customers. I should have, talked to more people across different industries, because it almost took us a year to find a product market fit. And a lot of companies fail in that first year, because you probably have built a solution that is valuable to someone, but maybe you're just talking to the wrong people. So initially,
that's interesting. So that's kind of like the opposite of niching down, because everybody says niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down. But if you niche down into the wrong vertical, then
but the bigger question is, how do you know what to niche down on? That is where I made a mistake, right? So before that, there's one more step, which is like trying to talk to more people across different personas, different industries, to know where your product is really, really needed. That stops them from doing certain job with high quality work. And I think I learned that over like being like a first time founder, just learning those things. That was really difficult for me. We raised money from some very prominent angel investors in Silicon Valley, and some well-known people in the Middle East as well, who were, great to invest in the early stages of our company. And then we started like hiring 1-2 people as we kept growing and building the product.
But did you build the product first, or did you raise the money first?
No, I actually built the product first, because I had an idea what we were building and for whom, but that took us like at least 9 months to build the product, the first iteration of the product. So we build the product because the customer is not going to buy from us, especially in that space that we're serving, without seeing anything real.
Right.
That was a gamble that I had to make. Although the easier, or not, I wouldn't say the easy is the right word here, but although the better path would have been like getting the customer first before building the product. I believe in that philosophy, but in our case, that was different. Like it wasn't going to work out if I would have taken that approach.
Right. Well, it depends on the business. I mean, it works for some businesses and it just doesn't work for others, because you really have to show them the data, that you have to show them that you can provide something that is more useful to them.
You've got to show them the users too, in our case, because they're a marketplace, right? So it's not just the software, right?
We got to have it's like the chicken and egg problem. That's the problem with marketplaces. You got to have both the buyers and the sellers. You have to get them both in there. And that's one of the toughest. I mean, everyone goes, oh yeah, look at Uber, look at Airbnb, look at all these marketplaces. They don't own cars, they don't own homes. It's like, but it's a marketplace. So it's you're catering to two different, completely different sets of audiences, and you got to get them together, and you got to get enough traction for people to see that there's something going on here. So that must have been really hard.
To all the marketplace founders, I have like the utmost respect for them, because it's like running two businesses at the same time, and it never ends, right? There's no perfect balance of supply and demand. Like, you have to constantly keep growing both of them at the same time, because if one doesn't work with the other, the one side of the marketplace will start to dry up.
Yeah.
And that
actually, I like that. I like that concept. It is like running two businesses at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
That's exactly right.
Like, yeah, and one side will look for the other side. If one doesn't exist, the other one's going to leave, right? It's the same chicken and egg problem that you were talking about. So I think it's one of the toughest things to do. But I've also learned that once they scale, they become very powerful because of the network effects that exist into marketplaces.
Yeah, it's just that initial bump. Like, how did you get that initial bump? Because I can imagine, you know, you talk to one side of the marketplace and they're like, oh, we need more of those, and you talk to the other side and they say we need more of those. And it's like, how did you get that?
Yeah, so I think
critical mass.
The first bump that we had to uncover was, first of all, who on the demand side needs our product. Like, they really need it. We are just not an alternative. We are the most powerful thing that they will use to solve that particular problem at work. So we figured that out, and it was mostly market research and consulting firms for us. They needed us more than any other industry, including financial services, you know, large enterprises, etc.
But how did you pitch to them if you didn't have anybody to pitch to them?
Yeah, so initially we went to them and we showed them like a prototype, and we gathered 100 users, which was like completely hustle. Like, I had to personally get on calls with people to convince them to join the platform and be on the platform. And when they joined the platform, I would go in a particular vertical. So we started off with like technology vertical. So CIOs were like a top vertical for us. So we went to these customers, say like, hey, you can get access to these 100 CIOs, you know, and you can, you know, start interacting with them and transact through the platform to get whatever insight.
How did you incentivize the CIOs to join the platform?
I had to tell them that we are a startup. If you come on the platform, we'll bring in business to you. Because the thing is, all these CIOs already get a lot of requests on LinkedIn, and they don't tend to reply.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you get a lot of them on
every
LinkedIn.
Day, hundreds.
Every day, right? But the problem is LinkedIn has a lot of spam and trust issues. So these CIOs or these senior business professionals, they are very low temperament. They don't have time to, like, you know, try out different platforms. But what we told them is like, we're going to give you the guarantee that you're going to get paid, number one, for participating in every project that you do. And the second thing is, you also have a monetization mechanism here. You can put your rates there, your profile is there. You don't have to create a profile every time someone comes to you asking for this request and that request. This is what you have. Just share your link with them and people will start using it. I think that worked out really well. They're giving them the trust and guarantee that they will get paid. Because on LinkedIn, if I hire you for some work, I don't pay you after you even successfully completed the work, Chris. You cannot really do anything. Like, how are you going
there's
to
no recourse.
There's no recourse, right? But we as a platform take that guarantee, and that made it good enough for them to at least give us a chance to you know, work with us. And that's how we initially like seeded the marketplace, was the supply side, and then going to the demand side, and then growing both the sides. Today we have close to 16,000 senior business professionals on the platform. And the largest companies research are getting powered by CleverX.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very similar to like what happened with Fishbowl, right? Because if you look at LinkedIn is kind of like the lowest common denominator of business networking, and it's so junky, and that it doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. I remember participating on a LinkedIn panel once, and they're going, "What's the biggest problem with LinkedIn?" And I said, "Well, it's supposed to be a platform to help me do business, and it doesn't help me do business. It's just it's just another social media that wastes my time."
It's more like thought leadership, which is not really thought leadership. And I think jobs, probably it's a good place for people to apply for jobs, but that also is like looking really bad, because like every job you see, there are 1,000 people who applied for it, because there's a one-click button. I can go and click on thousands of jobs in it.
It's table stakes for people's background checks is basically what it is. It's kind of like, and even looking for jobs, I think it's not even really very useful for that, because there's so many other outlets right now, and there's so many applications per particular job. It's more of a pull model. So it's kind of like, here's where I have to have my profile and a few other things set up so that people will see I'm a legitimate individual. But who actually do business. It's definitely not, I mean, for getting a job, possibly background information, but for doing business, actually buying and selling and connecting people with demand to people with supply, it doesn't have that capability.
Yeah, it unfortunately doesn't have that, mechanisms built around trust, because you can go and create like a fake or a spam profile as well, and no one
and
can
then every
like,
day somebody says, hey, I've cracked the LinkedIn AI lead generation thing.
no,
And it's just like
I don't know how
tool
true that
spamming
is.
LinkedIn going, hey.
So I think we what we wanted to do was build like a LinkedIn alternative for market research. I think that's what our customers call us today. I don't think there's any other company that's taken the route that we have taken to solve this problem. So which is very, unique and differentiated as a product.
So how do you vet people for come in? Like, how do you stop anybody from signing up and going, hey, I'm CIO of yada yada company, and
that's a
pay
great
me lots of
question.
money?
That's a great question. You can sign up for sure, but there are systems built within the platform which are powered by AI. So we call them AI signals, where users, even the data around like their browser, their location, their social profiles, we get all that pulled in, and based on that, we can put a verification score. So it's not a yes or a no. We know like how much is a verification process done for a particular user. Based on that, if it's a legitimate user, we know that for sure. If it's not, they won't get any, request, or they won't even show up on the search in certain cases. So we don't stop people from signing up, but if there's like a fraudulent profile, our system can alert us in the right second that they sign up, like they are not legitimate. The other thing is we also get a lot of KYC data, because people can only withdraw money that they've earned from our platform by connecting their bank accounts through Stripe.
Interesting.
So I cannot put Chris's bank account into my account to
Now you're making me think you use like elements from dating sites to validate the person is legitimate. That's cool.
So you got to do like think out of the box to figure out ways, and if you put those 3-4 things together, we are very confident about like the legitimacy of a particular user that's on the platform.
That's interesting.
Even Amazon couldn't solve like fraud. No marketplace can solve or eradicate fraud by 100%, but you can keep it at a very, very minimal level. And keep those tools in place, so at least things get flagged before some transaction even starts to take place.
So what's the business model on your side? Do you charge a percentage? Do you charge a fee to the market research companies?
We charge a fee on both the sides of the marketplace, because we're bringing business to the user, as we are very transparent about this pricing. So when someone participates into a particular research study, then they know exactly how much they're going to get paid. The customer knows how much they're going to get charged. So we take that money to avoid that fraud and give the transparency to both the sides of the marketplace. I think transaction, and now we are implementing a couple of subscription-based models as well, along with transaction, depending on the use cases that different use cases have.
So what kind of people? So you said you started in the tech space. Have you gone beyond that now? Are you in every?
We are in a bunch of like verticals now. So marketing, advertising, senior professionals are used on the platform a lot. Healthcare is growing. We see a lot of people from technology and HR as well. So like 5-6 verticals where we are pretty good, where customers can solve their needs. And I think it will keep growing. Is again coming back to the whole chicken and egg, thing, that we got to keep growing a certain vertical based on demand and supply coming together. And hopefully, going down the line, we should have all the major 33, 36 verticals that are out there. And, close to 500,000 users. That should make us $1 billion company.
Very cool. So if how does the process work? So if I sign up, do I get, so I put in all my credentials, it does that background check sort of thing on me, and I show up as I show up as an individual, so somebody can say, I want to send a survey directly to Chris, or can they hide can they be anonymous, or?
Yeah, you can. So there are two ways to do it. You can even keep your profile anonymous. So some people, they don't want to be seen on a marketplace. So there's a hide profile button on your dashboard, so you can do that. But you still have your unique link. If someone reaches out to you in LinkedIn or some other place, you can still give them the link. Just by clicking on that link, they can book time with you or invite you for projects, and you're still hidden, right? But they need to have your link, which you can share with them. The other way to do it is when you sign up on the platform and you don't have these issues about hiding your profile, because some people don't want it to be seen to their employers, which is fair. But you can look at the projects on the opportunities page. So there are new projects that come on the platform every single day.
So you can request to join a project that's already in progress.
You can request to apply for it, and if the research firm feels like you are a good candidate for that research study, they will approve it. If not, they will pass on your profile, just like applying for a small job. And the other way is like some companies would just filter down certain users based on the search criteria they have, and you will directly start getting notifications of invitations to participate in different research studies. So as of now, like right now, since we're talking, I think that there must be at least 15 to 20 projects live on the platform where multiple other customers are using it to work on different, studies. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're still, the tech space is still the largest vertical that you have on there right now.
Tech, marketing, and advertising, I would put them as largest. It also depends on the seasonality, right? So when there are new tech trends, like last year, we saw a lot of projects happening from blockchain to Web3.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we are seeing
this year it's all AI, right? It's all about AI.
Yeah. It's all about AI. So we get a really good understanding, by the way, the kind of projects that happen in the world, because these projects are done by the largest research firms. So we know where the money is being spent on research. So we get a decent pulse of things, if not like the exact, but we get an idea of what's going on, which is really interesting.
Very cool. That could be useful data to use later on in aggregate or create reports or stuff like that. This is great.
Exactly.
So, okay, so it's time to think like a futurist. It is the year 2033, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Where will we be? I mean, are you guys going to be the de facto replacement for that little piece of LinkedIn? What are you going to do next? Where do you see yourself going?
By the year 20, in the next 10 years, I can very confidently say we will be the biggest company with the highest amount of impact when it comes to B2B research. I'm very confident about it. And I'm not just saying it from a bias of being a founder or just from my belief system. I'm saying it based on how our customers use it and the amount of money they're spending on the platform every month. And we see the value that they're getting out of these projects conducted on the platform. So I see most of the B2B research flowing through our platform for the largest companies in the world. Yeah.
Well, you're selling legitimate people. That's the thing, right? I mean, right now, you go to all these platforms, you go to any platform, you're going, is this person a real person? Are they who they really are? Right?
Or a bot. Like with AI, that is going to be a big problem. A lot of people think of AI as a positive thing, but there are going to be bots which are going to be much more intelligent than just a script running in the background.
Exactly.
Which could fool a lot of systems and companies. So the companies which are not going to build these fraud detection systems or bot elements into their products, they are going to face legitimate problems in just coming months.
Oh, it's already happening. I mean, look at those, all of these social media sites that don't have the safeguards in place are getting flooded. They're just getting flooded with these bots, and they really need to put those safeguards in place. And it sounds like you guys have got that. You got the vetting mechanism.
Yeah, we got the vetting mechanism, and it has to constantly be improving based on how we see different use cases of people using it or exceptions that we haven't encountered before, but we are seeing now. So you've got to be really smart about it. But at the same time, this was also one of the reasons why someone questioned Elon Musk about Twitter and the $8 thing. This is what he's doing by that money. He's validating people by paying them money. Because if you want to run 1,000 bots, you have to pay $8,000, which no one would do because it doesn't make sense to do it financially speaking. And I think that's where you'll have to figure out ways or mechanisms, because on Twitter it's way much more easier than on our marketplace to do that. There's really no validation. LinkedIn is using Clear to do that, which is the same company or the product that's used at the airports, to validate
Yeah,
the
I'm familiar,
passports, right?
very familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how,
But it still doesn't help.
the
You
scale
still
is
get
so large,
hammered by
right?
bots all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It still doesn't help because first you need to know who to show that screen to, right? Like to validate that person. A lot of people get like a lot of those spam profiles, fall through the cracks, and I think that's why it's difficult for companies to figure out how these spam or bot companies are thinking. So it's going to get more dangerous, unfortunately. But I think better solutions will come out of it.
Well, the other interesting thing is that I had this idea a long time ago when I got ripped off on eBay. And I thought to myself, we really need, because it's so easy to be anonymous and either not a real person like a bot, or anonymous, or completely misrepresent yourself on the internet. It's like on the internet, no one knows you're a dog, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you need some service that can actually say, this is a legitimate person. This is who they really are. This is what their background really is, and almost score them and say, this person is like 93% trustworthy.
Yeah.
And then you could apply that at just take that with you wherever you go. So if you're on eBay, if you're on CleverX, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook or whatever, this trust score or whatever can then be used sort of across the internet to say that person is legitimate and this is what they really are like. Something almost like a replacement for what we used to have when we were in tribal villages, where I know this person because I do a lot of interaction. We don't have a lot of that interaction anymore. So have you ever thought of sort of maybe taking that piece of it and sort of spinning it out as almost like a service that other marketplaces could use?
I think we would be the wrong company to do that. We are not like I don't think we have the skill sets or even the drive or motivation to build a product like that.
Right. But you've got the technology.
Yeah, we are building that technology for our use case. We'll see. I don't know where the world takes us in the future, but I think there are going to be some incredible companies that will come out. I think blockchain tried to do that. But again, the problem is with blockchain products in general, which I always question with other founders who are in the Web3 blockchain space or crypto space, who are like good friends of mine. But my question was, what is the source of truth? Right? Like if the source of truth is wrong, then you have a wrong fake profile all over the internet.
All the way through. Yep.
Right. So who's responsible for that source of truth, which is the most difficult question to answer.
That could be you guys. You guys could be the source of truth.
It's a big responsibility to take up, because it's something.
Hey, in 10 years, in 5 years, you'll have solved the problem that you were thinking about in 10 years, and you're gonna be like, okay, what are we gonna do next? Let's solve the problem of identity for the entire internet.
Yeah, I think that's where like most of the companies you take from Meta to Twitter, Instagram, or even TikTok, like that's where the source of truth problem comes in for all social media companies. So anywhere there are human beings involved, I've realized one thing. This is a more philosophical thing that I've learned is there are going to be bad actors no matter what. Like no matter how good you make your technology, there are going to be people who will figure something out, because the incentive and motivation is to act in a bad way, to get whatever money as a incentive. But the big suggestion I would have for anyone who runs a business like that would be to not punish good people for the small minority of bad actors.
Exactly, which is exactly what's happening. Which is exactly what's happening, unfortunately.
So there are going to be these bad actors, but I think good people should not get punished for it. We're legitimate people, that's not their fault. So,
and I think the only way to do that is to bring more people back into the process, because there's so much AI just making these snap permanent decisions on things. And it's kind of like, wait a second, there's probably a lot more nuance to this than you think of. And the machines can't think in nuance. You really need people to think that nuance through. So
absolutely, there has to be some kind of human intervention. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, this has been great. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign up right away, right after this.
Please do, Chris.
Hopefully you'll need my advice. Who knows?
We'll definitely need you.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
I think the best way would be, I'm not on a lot of social, media. So I use Twitter and LinkedIn just for work. So the best way to reach out would be through LinkedIn. So if you can type in my name, Sharekh, which is Sharekh. I think I should be the first hit, or you can just drop me an email at sharekh@cleverx.com.
Very
Happy
cool.
to answer any questions to your, subscribers. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.